are describing an ambush situation. We do have our Regan Gallo there. She just left a press conference where Kootenai County Sheriff Bob Norris gave an update on this situation. Regan, tell us more about where you are right now and what you've been able to confirm.
Hey, Tim. Yeah, I am in Coeur d'Alene right now near Cherry Hill Park, or in Cherry Hill Park, I should say, right under Canefield Mountain. And yes, around 1:20 this afternoon, local law enforcement received reports of a fire, which then they responded to. And at around 2 p.m., those firefighters did receive shots fired at them. And like you said, 2 of those deaths we have been able to confirm, but there's still an unknown amount of casualties. I'm looking down at my phone, just being transparent, because I want to make sure I get all those notes in here that I have from that press conference from Sheriff Norris just moments ago. But he said they were actively taking sniper fire as they were trying to respond. Multiple agencies are on scene. This is still an active scene, and they would still be active until they're able to neutralize the suspect or suspects. And while this is still going on, that fire still is burning because they are trying to find the suspects or maybe more. Now, there's also hikers still trying to come down the mountain as well. So there's just a lot going on right now, and local law enforcement is asking to stay away from the area. Again, I am at the Cherry Hill Park area right under Canefield Mountain, where this is still an active scene. So a lot is going on. I think we're going to be here for a while, but yeah, it's pretty devastating, pretty sad, and there's still a lot to be discovered.
Situation. It originally came in as a brush fire call, and then it turned into an active shooting situation. What did the sheriff say about that?
Yeah, that's exactly what happened. Originally, there was a fire that they received reports on. That's when those firefighters came out to respond to that fire. And then, exactly like I said, they had shots fired at them. So we're not sure what kind of situation this is. Sheriff Bob Norris is still trying to learn more, but that's exactly what happened. You're taking the words right out of my mouth, Tim. But yeah, a lot still is to learn. And we're still just trying to get people down off the mountain and off the park as well until this threat is neutralized.
And Regan, the sheriff also made an interesting comment that there were bullets coming from multiple directions, indicating that there could be more than one shooter. Did he say anything else about why they could believe that there could be more than one shooter at this time?
Right now, he just said, everything is still subject to change. This is preliminary information. As of right now, since they don't have eyes or hands on one suspect because there were multiple shots, that's the reason to believe that there might be more than one suspect. And that's what they're trying to find out right now as they are in the area trying to track that down. So yeah, it could be multiple people. Still, again, I am going to reiterate, it could be subject to change. This is preliminary information, and there might be a press conference or press release later tonight as well, maybe in 3 or 4 hours. So there's still a lot to learn, like I said, and yeah, exactly. We're still trying to get those answers.
Regan, set the scene for us. Where is Canefield Mountain? This is kind of east of Coeur d'Alene, but this is a popular place for people on the weekends. It sounds like there could be a lot of hikers there, and the sheriff's still saying that there's a shelter in place. Does it look like there's a lot of people trying to get out of the area?
Yeah, I mean, it's a beautiful Sunday afternoon. It's very unassuming that something would happen, especially as, Spokane's Hoop Fest is happening just over the state line. People were enjoying the area. Beautiful day, beautiful week right before 4th of July as people are starting to take time off to enjoy time with their family. So yeah, hikers were definitely out just enjoying the area, enjoying the beautiful day. And when I got here, like I said, people are turning around, trying to get out of the area because there is so much local law enforcement and local law enforcement from all kinds of different authorities as well. And so there's just a lot of sirens, a lot of people, and a lot of support as we're trying to figure out next steps for local law enforcement. So like you said, Tim, a beautiful Sunday kind of turned into chaos in this aftermath, and we're still trying to track down what's going to happen next.
Yeah, absolutely. A heartbreaking situation, Regan. And it looks like there's a lot of police activity behind you, and it sounds like they're still searching for the suspect or suspects. Are multiple agencies involved in this situation? Are they getting support from other agencies?
Yeah, from what I know right now, the marshal is here as well as Bonner County. Kootenai County is here as well as Coeur d'Alene. And we also have Life Flight as well, who have been circling the area from above. So a lot of different hands are in this because of just the severity of the situation, the shock of the situation as well. And I assume they're going to be working until the late hours of tonight and through later this week, too.
And Regan, tell us more about the shelter in place. What does that mean for an area like Canfield Mountain? Are there homes nearby? Are there parks, schools? Kind of, for people who don't know the area, what did you observe as you were driving into the scene?
Just pretty much right off I-90 as people are going in and out. Definitely a busy area, and Sheriff Norris said stay out of the area. This is still an active threat, an active scene. The threat has not been neutralized yet. I'm even hearing helicopters right kind of above me right now as we speak. So it is a beautiful park, a beautiful area where people want to enjoy, but as of right now, do not come to this area. It might seem busy. Stay away.
And Regan, I think your audio cut out. Are there homes? Do people live in this area as well, or is this a pretty remote area?
Yeah, from my understanding, there are some homes in the area, not exactly where I'm at right now. We're kind of right off I-90, so we're getting that traffic, but I'm not right near where homes are. But there is parks over in this area too, so just stay away. Yeah.
And Regan, we know that 2 were killed in this situation. Does it look like anyone else was injured or hurt? Have you seen people in ambulances? Tell us more about that.
There's definitely ambulances on scene. Right now, we can only confirm those 2 deaths. And right now, Sheriff Norris says that casualties are still unknown. They really don't know who has been hurt, and they're still kind of tracking down that information as they are on the mountain investigating. So there definitely can be more people that have been hurt, more people that could have shot, but we're still trying to learn that information and get that confirmed. So all that information, I'm sure we're going to get more of tonight in the next coming hours as we track down more of this from local law enforcement. But right now, all of that is still preliminary to change.
Regan, was there anything else the sheriff mentioned in that press conference that our viewers should know about?
I mean, yeah, I think kind of what we were saying earlier is, this is still an active investigation. There's hikers that are still trying to get off the mountain as this was still happening. So they're still trying to rush people to get off the mountain from enjoying their day. The other thing, too, was with that initial fire, they cannot put out that fire until this threat is neutralized. So that is still burning as we speak. So if people are driving on I-90, when I was coming from Spokane, you could see that smoke in the air. So that is still going to be burning until we are able to understand it or get those suspects. Now, what I do know is that fire started around, I think it was a half an acre or about an acre or so. And so we don't know, as the sun goes down, that fire threat does decrease. However, it's still burning. So they're going to have to neutralize that threat first before they can then go tackle the fire.
Regan Gall reporting live for us in Kootenai County. Thanks so much. If you're just joining us, we want to recap again what we know right now. Kootenai County firefighters, or at least firefighters responding to a brush fire, were ambushed earlier this afternoon around 1 o'clock. What we know right now is that 2 firefighters were killed in this situation. This is near Canfield Mountain. Right now, again, 2 firefighters dead. This is east of Coeur d'Alene. There is still an active search for the suspect or suspects responsible for this situation. Right now, there is a shelter in place south of Hayden Road. The sheriff advising people to avoid this area if you can, because there are several law enforcement agencies on scene. You're looking at some of the video our crews shot earlier this afternoon. The sheriff had a press conference just moments ago. It wrapped up within the last 30 minutes. We will bring you that in our next, in about a few minutes. We'll have that for you coming up. In the meantime, we are streaming live on KREM 2 Plus. We have all this breaking detail coverage on our website, krem.com. We will continue to follow this all evening and bring you updates as we get them. We'll be right back. Just moments ago, the FBI Director Don Bongino just posted on social media saying that the FBI is en route to Coeur d'Alene to help in this situation. If you're just joining us right now, 2 firefighters are dead in what the sheriff is calling an ambush situation that they were responding to at a brush fire. Just moments ago, the sheriff, Bob Norris, held a press conference in Kootenai County to give the media and the community an update on this very active situation. Let's take a listen in.
Okay, my name is Robert Norris. I am the sheriff of Kootenai County. This information is very preliminary and is subject to change. We want to give you and the public as much information as quickly as possible. So at approximately 1:21 p.m. this afternoon, we received reports of a fire on the east side of Canfield Mountain. Fire assets responded to the scene, and at approximately 2 p.m. this afternoon, it was reported that firefighters were receiving shots fired at them. We now have 2 deaths. We have an unknown amount of casualties. We still have civilians that are coming off of that mountain. We might have civilians that are stuck or in shock on that mountain. So this is a very, very fresh situation. We are actively taking sniper fire as we speak. This is an active situation. We have multiple agencies that are on scene from local and federal authorities, and we are prepared to neutralize this suspect who is currently actively shooting at public safety personnel. We are prepared to neutralize this suspect as quickly as possible. We know as of right now. We don't know who the suspects are. We don't know how many there are. So I know that it's very, very, very early, and I don't think that any questions would yield anything. But Chief, do you have anything? Was I accurate in what we were reporting?
Yes.
Okay. So we'll take a couple of questions, but I'd like to remind you that's very, very preliminary, and I'm not so sure we're going to have any additional information.
However, from KXOY, the 2 deaths, are they fire personnel that have died?
We know that there's 2 deaths, and we believe that they are, yes.
Have they been taken off of the mountain?
Yeah, no, we're still in that process.
Ian Brown, Crent 2. You mentioned that there were multiple people that have been shot. Do you have an exact number at the moment?
Nope.
Okay.
We do not.
Alex, I'm the spokesman. How are you going about evacuating people from the mountain or getting personnel out of there who are being shot at? I mean, what does that process look like?
Right now, we're developing a plan to be able to suppress these individuals' firefighting capability. And when we get that under control, when we have an opportunity to suppress that, then we will continue our removing of people who are on the mountain, who are on for a hike, or public safety personnel, or people who live on the backside of the mountain.
Do we have any indication of what type of firearms are being used in this from the suspect?
Well, it appears that modern-day sporting rifles are being used. It appears that high-powered rifles are being used, yes.
How many acres is this fire?
I don't know.
Started out as a half acre.
Do we know about how many minutes after shots were fired when fire crews arrived?
Well, we got the first call at 1:21, and we have reports that they were taking shots at about 2 o'clock. I don't know what time they arrived on scene. I don't know what time the firefighters arrived on scene, but we can get you that information at the next briefing if you'd like.
How many engines were on scene when shots were fired? Do we know that? 3? We wait 3. Thank you.
And just to be clear, the people who responded, they were wildland firefighters or they were local firefighters fighting a wildland firefighter?
City of Coeur d'Alene and Kootenai Fire Rescue.
Yes,
When
sir.
the shots were fired, were they at an accelerated rate or was it a single shot?
Oh no, we're taking rapid fire up there. and back.
You keep referring to individuals. Are you referring to the casualties or like the amount of suspects you believe to be?
Well, we don't know how many suspects are up there, and we don't know how many casualties that there are. Yeah, I suspect we'll have people coming forward that maybe are stuck up there that drove themselves to the hospital, but I suspect that would likely be the case.
Do we have confirmation that there are people stuck up there?
People are still coming off the mountain, so it would only be safe to assume that the mountain is not clear.
As of right now, is there an active threat to the
Absolutely there is.
Okay. Has
Yeah.
there been a shelter-in-place order put forth?
Yes, there has, and I would encourage all of you to tell people to stay away from the area. Do not come to the area. Stay away from the area. This is going to be, if these individuals are not neutralized quickly, this is going to be likely a multi-day operation.
Here's this question. So is the suspect in a home up there? Are they? Do we have an indication of where they might be on the mountain?
Yeah, we don't believe that they're in a home up there at this time.
So they're just kind of out in the open, firing?
Well, they're heavy brush, well prepared. So yeah, they're blending in with their surroundings.
Sheriff Norris.
Go ahead.
Did you mention that the person that called it in is most likely the shooter?
No.
Okay.
No, we didn't say that. We said the first call was at 121 on a fire, and then we started receiving over our radio that the firefighters were receiving shots fired from the mountain.
Sheriff Norman, has anything happened like this before? And if so, do you think you and other law enforcement entities would be more aware going forward?
You know, this is an interesting dynamic. This, you know, we have seen some of these things in a urban environment where firefighters were in a urban setting, putting out firefighters during civil disobedience, getting shot at. I've seen that. I can't say that I've seen it in a rural setting myself, but I have seen it in an urban setting frequently where firefighters do get shot at in, civil unrest, yes.
So do we know if it's one or two shooters?
We don't know if there's 1, 2, 3, or 4. Yeah, we don't know.
So just for the fire itself, firefighting efforts, is it contained? Is it still spreading? What does that look like?
Well, it's gonna keep burning because we can't put a lot of resources on there right now. But Chief,
we won't put any resources out there until the threat is neutralized.
Do we have like a risk of wildfire? Say, is it high winds? Is that going to fuel the fire or anything, or is it?
We're at a high state right now in wildland, so it'll calm down as the evening progresses, but then it'll pick back up tomorrow.
Thank you.
And hopefully this is neutralized by then.
Thank you.
Sheriff Norris, how are you feeling about this overall from when you first got the call to just now from what you learned?
You know what? It's going to be the tough next couple hours. Yeah, absolutely. I'm hoping that somebody has a clear shot and is able to neutralize, because they are not at this point in time showing any evidence of wanting to surrender. So as soon as somebody has a clear shot, I encourage them to take that shot and neutralize the threat.
We've seen several life flight helicopters coming in and out. Are there any other air resources that are being used at the moment?
Oh yeah, we have our Emergency Operations Bureau that is containing assets, and whenever a situation goes beyond the local resources, which this has, like I said, we have other counties that are here, we have federal authorities that are here, and we will neutralize this threat. So.
Sorry, I know we've touched on this with the suspects. We know there is at least one, but you said possibly others. Is it coming from multiple different locations that bullets are coming from that might indicate that
yes.
it is
Oh yeah.
one suspect?
Yep.
So it's coming from not just one.
Yeah, it's what the officers and deputies are reporting up on the mountain right now. So.
Have any officers been hit?
As of right now, we don't have any officers that have been hit. Okay.
Can you just list all the law enforcement authorities that are here on scene?
Well, I have not gotten a list yet,
okay.
But however, pretty much everybody that's in this region, we have some Spokane resources that are here. We have Marshal's office that is on scene, Bonner County Sheriff's here, Coeur d'Alene Police, of course, is here, Idaho State Police, but we have a multitude of resources right now. So, okay, what we'll do is Lieutenant Mark Ellis is going to be one of our press relations here, and we'll determine what time we'll do another press conference, or if the next one will just be a press release. So I'm thinking it'll probably be a press conference, and it'll probably be somewhere in the next 3 or 4 hours, unless something significant happens before then.
To a press conference that just wrapped up with Sheriff Bob Norris within the last 30 minutes. Again, if you're just joining us right now, 2 firefighters were killed in an ambush situation while responding to a brush fire near Canfield Mountain. We have our Regan Gallo there reporting live for us this afternoon. Regan, something interesting that the sheriff said is that during that press conference, his deputies and first responders were still actively being shot at. What are you seeing right now from this scene? Does it look like anything has changed since we last checked in with you?
Hey, Tim. Yeah, well, as of right now, all I can see, and I'm going to let the camera show you, is many law enforcement on the scene, many at the bottom of Canfield Mountain. And we have not received any updates since that press conference about 30 minutes ago from Sheriff Norris about, who has been shot at more than those 2 people that have been killed. It could be more. There's definitely more casualties, but we can't say for sure how many right now. But Tim, what I want to show you is just the amount of support that is here right now. We have authorities from obviously Kootenai County, from Coeur d'Alene. We have some support over from Spokane coming over across the state line. We also have Bonner County, Kellogg, and we have also seen some FBI vests here as well too, including also the Marshal's office and Life Flight, which is those helicopters that come in too. So as you can see, there is just a ton of support right now, and until that threat is neutralized, what Sheriff Norris is saying, they're going to be on scene for many hours to come.
Regan, something the sheriff also said is that the fire is still actively burning. He looked to the fire chief and basically asked him, are they working on putting out that fire? And they both said no, not until the suspect or suspects are neutralized. Are you seeing active flames and smoke right now? Is that fire spreading?
Tim, great question. As of right now, where I am at, where our crew is at, we cannot see any active flames. However, when I was driving from I-90, you could definitely see that smoke in the sky, basically coming from state line. I could see that all the way coming here. So exactly what he said, he was very short, plain and simple. Until the suspect or suspects are found and located, they're not able to go in and do what they need to do to mitigate that fire. And he said, as the night goes down and the sun goes down, that threat does decrease with wildfire spread, but at the beginning it was about half an acre being burned. So I'm sure since then it's even more so, but they cannot tame that fire until they can find those suspects.
And talk about people on the mountain, Regan. He did also say that there are still people on the mountain right now, and they're working to get people off of the mountain to safety. Are there multiple entry and access points for people to get off this mountain? Tell us more about that. Are you seeing people come down? What's going on there?
Great question, Tim. Yeah, I don't know at this point if there's multiple access points to the mountain. I'm assuming it because this is a very large park, but I'm not going to say for sure. However, yes, they said as we were here during the press conference that they are still trying to get those hikers off of the mountain. This is the beginning of 4th of July holiday. This is, a fun week supposed to be had. We're coming off of Hoop Fest in Spokane as people are heading home, both to Idaho and wherever they're coming from. And so people are just trying to enjoy and kick off, this federal holiday. And for this to happen is just so devastating for hikers, yes, to still be coming down the mountain as there's an active threat. So we don't know how many people are still on the mountain, but that's what he said very plainly, is people are still trying to get off the mountain and into safety and out of the way so local law enforcement can do what they need to do. So yeah, exactly what you're saying, Tim. It's very scary, especially, first responders are so important to the week of 4th of July and every day throughout the year. And this is just chaos, and we're learning more still.
Regan, tell us more about the shelter in place. There are a few homes in the area, it sounds like, but it also is kind of a remote area. This is east of Coeur d'Alene near Canfield Mountain. Can you tell us more about the shelter in place? Has that expanded at all?
Yeah, from what I know, the shelter in place is still active, and I think that's going to be active until the hours through tonight. Until that threat is neutralized, people should stay away from the area. We're right off of I-90, so it's a very busy area. This is a beautiful park, so do not come to this area because those suspects are still out there and they're still armed. And from what I'm understanding, Sheriff Norris said that they believe those are modern day sporting rifles that were being used against our firefighters. So that is still in their hands and still a huge threat to the community.
Absolutely. And I do want to reiterate for our viewers that everything south of Hayden Lake Road and east of 15th Street in Coeur d'Alene is under that shelter in place from the sheriff's office, as well as 15th Street to the Cherry Hill BMX track, also closed right now. People who live in the area are being urged to stay indoors during this situation. Regan, this is obviously a big operation right now, while it is still very active. Tell us more about the different tactics that the sheriff said are being deployed right now and other agencies supporting to help neutralize the suspect, as he said.
Tim, great question. We haven't gotten too much information on that just yet, but they are trying to develop a plan to get onto the mountain and to find those suspects. But like I said, there's a huge support here. Law enforcement from all counties and all cities from the area in the region to come help out with this devastating scene. So a lot of support here is being sent because we don't know how long this is going to take. And like Sheriff Norris said, this is going to be an active day investigation going into this week and into probably the holiday as well. So he just said they're developing a plan. I'm looking at my notes right now, but I'm not too sure yet exactly. There should be another press conference in the next couple of hours, if not a press release. So we're still going to learn more.
And if our viewers are just joining us now, tell us more about a timeline of when this all started. This happened earlier this afternoon, around 1 o'clock or so. And when did they realize that this was more than a brush fire?
Great question, Tim. Yeah, so they received reports of that fire on Canfield Mountain around 1:21 p.m. And then at 2 p.m., that's when they received reports that firefighters were receiving shots. And later, 2 of those firefighters were dead, and there still might be more that could be injured or more casualties. That's all we know for right now. And then, like I said, they've been working to understand the scene since around 1:30 this afternoon. Now we're hitting the 5:30 hour here. So this is going to go well into the evening as the sun comes down. It's a very hot day. It's supposed to be a hot week. So just think of those first responders, not only that were first acting for that fire, but also everyone that's here. I mean, they're just trying to get through this heat of the day while trying to neutralize this threat. So it's just a lot of complexity, a lot of people involved, a lot of hands trying to do the right thing to protect everyone involved, and especially the Coeur d'Alene and inland Northwest community. So it happened at 1:20 with that fire, and then 2 o'clock, that's when they received reports of firefighters being shot. And then, like I said, since then, they're still trying to confirm who was on the mountain and trying to get them out of the area.
And we keep saying suspect or suspects. Did the sheriff say why that he believes there could be more than one suspect at large right now?
Yeah, I mean, multiple shots were fired at those firefighters, which then indicates to them what they say is that there might be more than one suspect. So it's really, the type of shots being shot at, that active sniper fire is what they're saying. And so that's why they might believe that there's multiple people on that mountain that are a threat.
And Regan, we know that 2 firefighters were killed in this situation. Do we know if anyone else was hurt? Have you seen any ambulances take anyone away? Tell us more about that.
There's definitely ambulances here responding as fast as they can. We cannot confirm right now how many people may be down, more than those 2 firefighters, but the casualties are unknown at this point. They suspect there are many, but they can't say for sure right now.
All right, Regan, and also I'm going to keep you on standby here, but it looks like we also are getting word from the FBI. The FBI posted within the last hour, Director John Bongino Dan Bongino posted this. FBI assets are headed to the scene in Coeur d'Alene to provide tactical and operational support. It's an active scene. That was just posted within the last hour or so. You could see at 4:19 this afternoon. We are also hearing from others, including Governor Brad Little. You could see here Governor Little writing, multiple heroic firefighters were attacked today while responding to a fire in North Idaho. This is a heinous direct assault on our brave firefighters. I ask all Idahoans to pray for them and their families as we wait to learn more. Teresa and I are heartbroken. As this situation is still developing, please stay clear from the area to allow law enforcement and firefighters to do their jobs. That coming from Governor Brad Little also within the last hour. If you are just joining us, what we know right now, 2 firefighters were killed in an ambush situation while responding to a wildfire near Canfield Mountain. This is east of Coeur d'Alene. Within the last hour, the sheriff, Bob Norris, held a press conference giving us more details about how things kind of developed over the last several hours, but emphasized that this is still very preliminary information as they are still searching for the shooter or shooters. Let's take a listen.
Okay, my name is Robert Norris. I am the Sheriff of Kootenai County. This information is very preliminary and is subject to change. We want to give you and the public as much information as quickly as possible. So at approximately 1:21 p.m. this afternoon, we received reports of a fire on the east side of Canfield Mountain. Fire assets responded to the scene, and at approximately 2 p.m. this afternoon, it was reported that firefighters were receiving shots fired at them. We now have 2 deaths. We have an unknown amount of casualties. We still have civilians that are coming off of that mountain. We might have civilians that are stuck or in shock on that mountain. So this is a very, very fresh situation. We are actively taking sniper fire as we speak. This is an active situation. We have multiple agencies that are on scene from local and federal authorities, and we are prepared to neutralize this suspect who is currently actively shooting at public safety personnel. We are prepared to neutralize this suspect as quickly as possible. We know as of right now. We don't know who the suspects are. We don't know how many there are. So I know that it's very, very, very early, and I don't think that any questions would yield anything. But Chief, do you have anything? Was I accurate in what we were reporting?
Yes.
Okay. So we'll take a couple of questions, but I'd like to remind you that's very, very preliminary, and I'm not so sure we're going to have any additional information.
However, from KXOY, the 2 deaths, are they fire personnel that have died?
We know that there's 2 deaths, and we believe that they are, yes.
Have they been taken off of the mountain?
Yeah, no, we're still in that process.
Hayden Brown, Coeur. You mentioned that there were multiple people that have been shot. Do you have an exact number at
No.
the moment?
Nope.
Okay.
We do not.
Alex, I got the spokesman. How are you going about evacuating people from the mountain or getting personnel out of there who are being shot at? I mean, what does that process look like?
Right now, we're developing a plan to be able to suppress these individuals' firefighting capability, And when we get that under control, when we have an opportunity to suppress that, then we will continue our removing of people who are on the mountain, who are on for a hike, or public safety personnel, or people who live on the backside of the mountain.
Do we have any indication of what type of firearms are being used in this from the suspect?
Well, it appears that modern-day sporting rifles are being used. It appears that high-powered rifles are being used, yes.
How many acres is this fire?
I don't know.
Started out as a half acre.
Do we know about how many minutes after shots were fired when fire crews arrived?
Well, we got the first call at 1:21, and we have reports that they were taking shots at about 2 o'clock. I don't know what time they arrived on scene. I don't know what time the firefighters arrived on scene, but we can get you that information at the next briefing if you'd like.
How many engines were on scene when shots were fired? Do we know that?
3? I believe we had 3.
Thank you.
And just to be clear, the people who responded, they were wildland firefighters or they were local firefighters fighting a wildland firefighter?
City of Coeur d'Alene and Kootenai Fire Rescue.
Yes,
When
sir.
the shots were fired, were they at an accelerated rate or was it a single shot?
Oh no, we're taking rapid fire up there. In the back.
You keep referring to individuals. Are you referring to the casualties or like the amount of suspects you believe to be?
Well, we don't know how many suspects are up there, and we don't know how many casualties that there are. Yeah, I suspect we'll have people coming forward that maybe are stuck up there that drove themselves to the hospital, but I suspect that would likely be the case.
Do we have confirmation that there are people stuck up there?
People are still coming off the mountain, so it would only be safe to assume that the mountain is not clear.
As of right now, is there an active threat to the
Absolutely,
community?
absolutely there is.
Okay. Has
Yeah.
there been a shelter-in-place order put forth?
Yes, there has, and I would encourage all of you to tell people to stay away from the area. Do not come to the area. Stay away from the area. This is going to be, if these individuals are not neutralized quickly, this is going to be likely a multi-day operation.
Here's a question. So is the suspect in a home up there? Are they do we have an indication of where they might be on the mountain?
Yeah, we don't believe that they're in a home up there at this time.
So they're just kind of out in the open firing?
Well, they're heavy brush, well prepared. So yeah, they're blending in with their surroundings.
Sheriff Morris?
Go ahead.
Did you mention that the person that called it in is most likely the shooter?
No.
Okay.
No, we didn't say that. We said the first call was at 1:21 on a fire, and then we started receiving over our radio that the firefighters were receiving shots fired from the mountain.
Sheriff Norman, has anything happened like this before? And if so, do you think you and other law enforcement entities will be more aware going forward?
You know, this is an interesting dynamic. This, you know, we have seen some of these things in a urban environment where firefighters were in a urban setting, putting out firefighters during civil disobedience, getting shot at. I've seen that. I can't say that I've seen it in a rural setting myself, but I have seen it in an urban setting frequently where firefighters do get shot at in, you know, civil unrest, yes.
So do we know if there's one or two shooters?
We don't know if there's 1, 2, 3, or 4. Yeah, we don't know.
So just for the fire itself, firefighting efforts, is it contained? Is it still spreading? What does that look like?
Well, it's gonna keep burning because we can't put a lot of resources on there right now. But Chief,
No, we won't put any resources
Yeah.
out there until the threat is neutralized.
Do we have like a risk of wildfire? Say, is it high winds? Is that going to fuel the fire or anything? Or is it?
We're at a high state right now in wildland, so it'll calm down as the evening progresses, but then it'll pick back up tomorrow.
Thank you.
And hopefully this is neutralized by then.
Thank you.
Sheriff Morris, how are you feeling about this overall from when you first got the call to just now from what you've learned?
you know what? I It's going to be the tough next couple hours. Yeah, absolutely. I'm hoping that somebody has a clear shot and is able to neutralize, because they are not at this point in time showing any evidence of wanting to surrender. So as soon as somebody has a clear shot, I encourage them to take that shot and neutralize the threat.
I've seen several Life Flight helicopters coming in and out. Are there any other air resources that are being used at the moment?
Oh yeah, we have our Emergency Operations Bureau that is containing assets, and whenever a situation goes beyond the local resources, which this has, like I said, we have other counties that are here, we have federal authorities that are here, and we will neutralize this threat. So.
And sorry, I know we've touched on this with the suspects. We know there is at least one, but you said possibly others. Is it coming from multiple different locations that bullets are coming from that might indicate that
yes.
it is
Oh yeah.
one suspect?
Yep.
So it's coming from not just one.
Yeah, it's what the officers and deputies are reporting up on the mountain right now. So.
Have any officers been hit?
As of right now, we don't have any officers that have been hit. Okay.
Can you just confirm, list all the law enforcement authorities that are here on scene?
Well, I have not gotten a list yet,
Okay.
but however, pretty much everybody that's in this region, we have some Spokane resources that are here. We have Marshal's office that is on scene, Bonner County Sheriff's here, Coeur d'Alene Police, of course, is here, Idaho State Police, but we have a multitude of resources right now. So, okay, what we'll do is Lieutenant Mark Ellis is going to be one of our press relations here, and we'll determine what time we'll do another press conference, or if the next one will just be a press release. So I'm thinking it'll probably be a press conference, and it'll probably be somewhere in the next 3 or 4 hours, unless something significant happens before then.
Welcome back. If you're just joining us right now, we're following a serious, intense situation happening outside of Coeur d'Alene in the Canfield Mountain area. If you're not familiar, that's just east of Coeur d'Alene. Firefighters responded to a call of a brush fire around 1:20 this afternoon. When firefighters got to the scene, they started taking gunfire from someone or people in that area, and that's the situation right now. We know that 2 firefighters have been shot. The sheriff right there, Bob Knorr, is saying that other people could be hurt. This is a popular recreation area for mountain bikers and hikers. They're not able to tell right now how many other potential victims there may be. They don't know. We just heard him say they don't know how many potential shooters there may be.
Right, and he actually
multiple.
even said that during that press conference, while it was happening within the last hour, that they were still actively taking gunfire at that moment. And he's given his deputies and the supporting agencies authority to take out the suspect or suspects should they get a clear shot, is what he said.
He said they are armed with modern-day sporting rifles. That's how he described it. He said individuals have not been neutralized, but he said in that press conference, we will find and neutralize these suspects. But it's a very dynamic situation because the fire is still burning, and essentially until police officers in the area can neutralize the threat, they're obviously not able to fight this.
The fire chief saying that they're not going to until the suspect is taken down. But because this is an active situation right now, they are working to get people off the mountain. There are still hikers up there, still people out there enjoying this Sunday afternoon. Right now, there is also a shelter in place there for homes and streets and roads in that area. We have a list of those shelters in places that remain active right now. It's pretty much everything south of Hayden Lake Road, east of 15th Street. That's all in Coeur d'Alene. And also Canfield Mountain Trailhead, of course, and Nettleton Gulch Road, all under a shelter in place right now.
Yeah, multiple law enforcement agencies, to include federal agencies, responding to the situation. The FBI director even taking to Twitter just about 1 hour ago saying FBI assets are headed to the scene in Coeur d'Alene to provide tactical and operational support. Here is that tweet right now. It is an active scene, he writes. We know that several other political leaders in the state of Idaho are also taking to Twitter to address it. The governor of Idaho tweeting right there, multiple heroic firefighters attacked today while responding to a fire in North Idaho. This is a heinous direct assault on our brave firefighters. I ask all Idahoans to pray for them and their families as we wait to learn more. Teresa and I are heartbroken. Our senators also taking to Twitter.
Two senators also weighing in. Senator Jim Risch writing, Vicki and I are monitoring the incident in Kootenai County. We pray for the safety of our brave first responders. Also, Senator Mike Crapo writing, I am monitoring the horrific reports out of Coeur d'Alene this evening. I urge local residents to follow recommendations of law enforcement. My prayers are with the victims and first responders.
Yeah.
So lots of people still reacting to this situation. This is still very much a developing situation. Again, right now, law enforcement still working to take out the suspect or suspects that allegedly killed two firefighters. So that's it's still multiple agencies from many different counties and jurisdictions coming in to support both on the ground and in the air.
But one thing that struck me that we heard from Sheriff Bob Norris, he said individuals, if they're not neutralized quickly, this will likely be a multi-day incident.
You don't hear that,
No, that's something that's very rare. We don't frequently hear about that type of thing happening very often. But they're well armed, he said. They're concealed up there, so it's a difficult situation to first track them and keep officers safe and try to neutralize that threat. And they're also dealing with several other people who may be recreating in the area. Maybe they don't know about what's going on. Maybe they're trying to get off the mountain. So it's very dynamic. And we are now 4.5 hours into the situation. Again, the call for that brush fire, 1:20. When firefighters arrived, they started taking gunfire. 2 of them we know have been shot. There could be more victims. We're just waiting to learn more.
He said even some people may have drove themselves to the hospital. So right now it's still very unclear on the number of people who have been shot outside of the 2 firefighters that were killed. We're also learning that, of course, there could be more than one suspect. Sheriff Norris saying that they were actively taking sniper fire from multiple directions. That's why he believes there could be more than one shooter right now.
We have a reporter live at the scene, Creme 2's Regan Gallo. She has been there all afternoon long. We want to bring her back into our coverage right now. And Regan, you have been there for several hours today. Can you give us just an idea of the scope of the response to this incident right now?
Mark, nice to hear from you. Yeah, the scope is huge. The support. We have law enforcement from across authorities. We have Idaho State Police. We obviously have Coeur d'Alene. We have Kootenai County. We have the U.S. Marshal here. We also have Bonner County as well as Kellogg. Also some support coming over from the Spokane area. We have Life Flight here with their helicopters. There's a helicopter just right over here. And then another one just went over me. And I want to believe that it was the Homeland Security Department. That helicopter just flew off that way as well. We also have some large SWAT vehicles right over here as well. You can't see that, but a lot of support. And I'm also FBI too, just like you mentioned earlier in the show today. So a lot of support is here. A lot of authorities are on scene because, like they said, they're going to keep going until this threat is neutralized today. Very scary, obviously, as we are heading into 4th of July weekend. People want to have fun. It was a beautiful Sunday, enjoying the beautiful scenery of Coeur d'Alene. So just an active investigation and a threat is still there.
Can you give us an idea of how far back the command center and where you are at is from the scene? Do you have any perspective on that?
Great question. I'm going to actually have the camera zoom in on that right now. As you can see, there are tons of law enforcement just right in front of me past this gate and a line of many, many vehicles. Now, as I was driving here about 2 hours ago, about 3 cop cars, I don't know what law enforcement they were from, zoomed past me and I assumed, okay, I'm going in that direction. But as you can see, many are right on the ground here. They have an investigation area set up and I assume they will be around the area for hours to come tonight, especially as the sun is setting. Now, it has been very, very hot today, so this is just complex terrain. It's on Canfield Mountain. It's warm, and now they're trying to get through this terrain to find possibly multiple suspects. So obviously a lot to get through.
And Regan, tell us more about the fire. We know that the fire chief said that they won't work to put out that fire until the suspect or suspects are taken down. Can you tell us more about that? Are you seeing a lot of smoke or any active flames right now?
Great question, Tim. Well, as of where I am right now, I don't see any smoke or flames, but as I was coming into the area from I-90, you could definitely see smoke in the sky. I actually had some Creme 2 news crews send me photos while they were enjoying their day off of the smoke in the area, and it started about a half an acre, that fire, around 1:30 this afternoon, and like we have reported, around 2 2 p.m., that's when those firefighters received shots fired at them. And since then, so since around 1:30, now it's almost 6 in the evening that fire has been going. So incredibly scary because this is summertime. This is high fire season, and the fire authorities, say that they cannot tame that fire or mitigate it in any way until the threat is neutralized. So we don't know when that is going to be. It is still burning. They said, wildfire threat does decrease in the evening, which is what they're expecting, but they can't do anything as of right now.
All right, Regan, hang tight for us. We'll come back to you later in our coverage. Appreciate your work tonight. This is just, I can't stress enough how rare of a situation this is. I've been working in broadcast journalism for 20 years.
Sure.
I can't recall covering an event like this where firefighters called into a fire are ambushed by somebody hiding out there in the woods, essentially. We're talking Canfield Mountain, if you're just joining us, east of Coeur d'Alene. They don't know how many suspects there are. Sheriff Norris said that at least one, probably multiple.
Sure.
They're saying if they don't neutralize, his words, neutralize the threat soon, it could be a multi-day event.
Right.
We have 2 people who've been killed. There could be more victims. They just don't know. So this is a very chaotic, tense, and just really, I guess, extraordinary scene.
It's heartbreaking for those firefighters and their families, thinking they were going out there to respond to a brush fire.
Right.
We know this is the time of year where fires spark up, and we thank them for what they do. And this is just absolutely horrific. Not, of course, how anyone wanted this day to end.
Right.
We are also hearing just moments ago, Congressman Mike Simpson posting also on social media saying gut-wrenching news coming from Coeur d'Alene. As the situation develops, our thoughts and prayers are with the brave firefighters and all first responders on scene.
Yeah, if you're just joining us, this whole thing began just at around 1:30 this afternoon. It started with a call for a fire. Firefighters arrived at the Canfield Mountain area, again east of Coeur d'Alene. When they were approaching that fire, they started taking gunfire. 2 people killed. So they then retreated. Huge law enforcement response. Officers from all across the region responding, as we heard Regan mention. As far away as Spokane, we know U.S. Marshals, the FBI is involved, Homeland Security. So this is a huge kind of chaotic scene where they're trying to get it wrapped up as quickly as possible. But it's difficult. There's people that are heavily armed out there, right? And it's in a very heavily wooded area, so they're concealed. So it's just tough.
It is. And, Mark mentioned that, they started taking gunfire around 2 o'clock. The sheriff called for a press conference at 4:30, and he said during that press conference at 4:30, they were still actively being shot at.
Yeah, he said sniper fire.
Yeah, sniper fire. And he said that he doesn't know how many gunmen. He said it could be 1, 2, 3, or even 4 because they are receiving gunfire from multiple directions as crews work to take down the suspect, but also get people safely off the mountain. He says that he's unsure if there are other people who are injured that may have driven themselves to the hospital.
Yeah, we just got word that the sheriff is planning to hold another press conference at 9:30, so in about 3.5 hours from now. So we're hoping to learn more at that point. But again, still very active. This is all unfolding as we speak right now. They're trying to locate this individual or individuals who are shooting at firefighters. Sheriff Norris addressed the question about firefighters being targeted during that press conference as well. And he said he can't ever recall a situation where firefighters in a rural situation were targeted. He says he's heard about that happening in more urban situations, but not in a situation like this.
Yeah.
So it's a huge search area, obviously, Canfield Mountain, right? And you can see this video from the command post right now. We know we have air ambulance helicopters on scene as well. So they're just trying to sort this all out and try to neutralize it as quickly as possible.
And it's why there is a shelter in place. And we have a list for you here for you. We also have it on creme.com. Everything south of Hayden Lake Road right now under a shelter in place, and more specifically east of 15th Street, as well as Canfield Mountain Trailhead, the main access point, and Nettleton Gulch Road, all under a shelter in place. They say, again, the suspects are still at large, and they are telling people to avoid the Coeur d'Alene area right now. Multiple law enforcement agencies are on scene responding to this shooting and fire.
Yeah, if we could, to give you an idea of just, I guess, how intense this situation is, we had the director of the FBI addressing the situation via social media an hour ago. Can we pull that tweet up one more time? He basically took to Twitter right here saying assets from the FBI are heading to Coeur d'Alene. It's an active scene. They're going to provide tactical and operational support. So the FBI director himself has been clued into what is occurring outside of Coeur d'Alene, and he's directing assets to respond to it. We understand we also have a statement from Christy Nome, the director of
Homeland Security.
If we have that right there, she says, DHS actively monitoring the scene in Coeur d'Alene. Pray for Idaho's first responders. Justice will be served. So this attracting the attention of some of the highest people in our government and in our law enforcement.
Including Governor Brad Little, too. Governor Brad Little also writing on social media, also sending his condolences, saying multiple heroic firefighters were attacked today while responding to a fire in North Idaho. This is a heinous direct assault on our brave firefighters. I ask all Idahoans to pray for them and their families as we wait to learn more. Teresa and I are heartbroken. As this situation is still developing, please stay clear from the area to allow law enforcement and firefighters to do their jobs.
Of course, this is all unfolding in the middle of fire season here in the inland Northwest, and that fire, it will just continue to burn because until that area is secure, they're not going to send clearly more firefighters in there, right? So that's a whole nother factor in this situation that they are dealing with at this hour.
Mark, you've been to Canfield Mountain. Tell people about this area. Are there multiple access points to get on Canfield Mountain?
Yeah, I've only been there once, but it is a popular area, I know, for mountain bikers and for hikers. So it's an area where people, in North Idaho or from across the inland Northwest go to recreate and get outside and enjoy. The sheriff addressing that earlier, saying we just don't know how many other people may be stuck up there right now. There could be more victims up there, he said.
He said there are people they haven't reached. Saying that, he knows that there are still people up there, but they're trying to balance that, getting people off safely, but also not putting them in the line of danger.
The sheriff was also asked about what kind of weapon the shooter or shooters may have. He said modern day sporting rifles is what he described them as. So they are well armed, and as he pointed out, they're well concealed as well. And during the press conference, he said they are still actively under what he called sniper fire. Receiving sniper fire up there. So that gives you an idea of just how intense and chaotic the situation.
Yeah, he also said that it was said in the press conference if they have made contact with the shooter or shooters, and the sheriff said that there's no sign of that person or persons wanting to surrender right now. But it doesn't sound like they haven't released to us, at least, if they've been able to speak with the shooter or shooters or have any direct communication with them. It sounds like they are just still taking gunfire right now.
And to that point, he is urging people to be aware of the shelter-in-place order that was sent out. That's essentially for everyone south of Hayden Lake and east of 15th Street. So it's a huge shelter-in-place order. And so if you hear about this and you know other folks are out, he's asking that you pass the word along to them because it's just not a safe situation.
Our coverage continues here at 6 o'clock. We're streaming live on KREM 2 Plus as well, and KREM.com. This breaking news on KREM 2 News continues here right now.
Welcome back to our breaking news coverage of an active shooter situation unfolding just outside of Coeur d'Alene. It's in the Canfield Mountain area east of Coeur d'Alene. It all began at around 1:20 this afternoon when firefighters received reports of a fire. They responded to the brush fire. When they arrived, they started taking gunfire. We know that 2 have been shot and killed. There could be more victims. Right now, law enforcement is still trying to determine how many shooters there are. That person has yet to be caught. They have yet to be neutralized. So it's a very active, evolving situation right now.
Yeah, this is happening right now near Canfield Mountain. This is east of Coeur d'Alene right now, a very popular area, especially on a weekend right now. There, again, as Mark said, there is a shelter in place, and they're still actively working to get people off the mountain, including hikers and people just recreating there on Canfield Mountain as they work to take down the suspect or suspects. Right now, the sheriff's saying that he doesn't know if there are more than one shooter. They are shooters. He says there could be 1, 2, 3, or 4 because they are taking gunfire from multiple directions.
We have a live reporter at the scene. Her name is Regan Gallo. She has been out there for several hours this afternoon. Regan, you are standing outside the command center where there's this huge law enforcement response. Can you give us an idea of just the situation at this hour? We're now about 4.5 hours in to this ordeal.
Mark, there is a lot of support here on the scene right now, and we are in Cherry Hill Park area, and actually we're right behind a Coeur d'Alene fire station as well. So as we come into the area, there are plenty of law enforcement vehicles out. We have anywhere from support coming from Idaho State Police, as well as Kootenai County, Bonner County, Kellogg, and Coeur d'Alene. We have support coming over from the Spokane area too, the U.S. Marshal, and we have FBI. We have seen some FBI vests. We also have Life Flight. Those helicopters are just over to the left of me as well. And I believe we saw a helicopter from Homeland Security go into the sky about 20 minutes ago or so. So a ton of support on the ground. And as you can see, I am just, right where the investigation is happening with many support team members up there doing what they need to do. They expect that it's going to be an all-night investigation until those suspects are found.
Yeah, Regan, and we're talking a huge response. As you mentioned, officers from several different agencies, including federal agencies, U.S. Marshals, the FBI, as we're seeing right there on our screen, and all local law enforcement agencies. We know that it was Kootenai County Fire and Rescue that responded to this reported brush fire 121 when they were ambushed. And then local police responded thereafter. Again, we don't know the number of suspects police are looking for at this time. It could be multiple. Sheriff Bob Norris addressing the media in a press conference about an hour and a half ago or so, saying if this individual or individuals are not neutralized quickly, this will likely be a multi-day incident. So it sounds like they're under some belief that this suspect or suspects may be prepared to be out there for some time. He said they were armed with what he described as modern-day sporting rifles. They're in a heavily wooded area where they can conceal themselves. And during a press conference, that press conference was about 4 o'clock or so, actually. Yeah. Even during that time, he said they were still under fire from this person or persons up on the mountain. And then add into this is a popular recreation area where people go to mountain bike or to hike. And so officers are still trying to figure out who may still be up there. There could be still people being trapped up there or potential more victims.
Yeah, Regan, have you seen them take anyone else off the mountain? Have you seen any hikers or people recreating that area come off the mountain?
Tim, we have not seen any other hikers come off the mountain at this moment. Now, they're pretty much keeping things under wraps since that press conference. So I'm hoping we're going to get more information at the next press conference at 9:30 this evening. But no, we haven't seen anyone just yet. But yeah, Sheriff Norris said that they don't know how many hikers were up there at the time of the shooting, and with such a beautiful day Sunday to kick off 4th of July week, it's just very scary that this type of thing could happen right here in the Coeur d'Alene area, just a tourist destination. But yeah, we don't know how many other people might have been hurt. We don't know how many hikers were up there, and so that's, I believe, what they're trying to respond to right now, while also trying to track down those suspects. So it's kind of a twofold situation here, trying to find those suspects and also trying to get the community members to safety and to get them off the mountain and back into their homes. And so we're still uncovering that now. I haven't seen anyone come off yet, but again, a huge response. And like I said, they're going to be here out until the late hours tonight. So very scary situation. And I'll be honest, when I was driving in, I got the call to be here around 2:50 this afternoon, 3 o'clock. I had no idea just the scale of what I was driving into. All I saw was some smoke from I-90 from the mountain. So very scary. And when I came, there's been immense vehicles, many patrol vehicles here since that. So just huge response and a very scary situation.
Regan, our Coeur d'Alene camera actually shows some smoke. We have that. We'll pull it up. But what are you seeing right now? Is that fire? Does it look like the smoke is does it look like it's getting worse? Do you see any active flames right now? This is a live look from our Coeur d'Alene camera.
Yeah, I can't see that camera, Tim. Where I am standing at, I am right by that fire station, kind of by the dog park of Cherry Hill Park. And where we are, we do not see any active flames. So it must be on the other side of the mountain that we're not seeing. However, like they said, the fire officials say that they cannot put out that fire until that threat is neutralized. And at the beginning of that fire, around 1:30 this afternoon, now it's 6 o'clock. So 1:30 to 6 o'clock. o'clock. At 1:30, the fire started to be around half an acre. So I'm going to assume that that fire has grown some too, especially as we are in the height of, fire season. And fire authorities said, as it gets later and cooler, that threat will decrease. But still, they cannot do anything about that threat until the suspects are potentially found. So very scary. Other part of the situation here is that fire as well, because as this is a beautiful park, a beautiful place that people enjoy, and many people just live right in the area, that could be a growing threat too.
Yeah, that's a good point right there, Regan. Yeah, it certainly is. We are in the height of fire season right now, so not a good situation. As you mentioned, that fire will just burn until the situation's resolved and it's safe for firefighters to go back in. Sheriff Bob Norris, during his press conference, it was asked about the type or the situation of gunfire they were taking, and he described it as this: "We are taking rapid fire up there." That's how he described their responding officers encountering this situation. So, if you're just joining us, this whole thing began almost 5 hours ago, east of Coeur d'Alene, Canfield Mountain. It started as a reported brush fire. When they arrived, firefighters started taking fire. We know that 2 were shot and killed. There could be more victims.
And still taking gunfire up until at this point that we know of. The sheriff saying at least around the 5 o'clock hour that his deputies and other responding law enforcement officers were still taking gunfire in multiple directions, which is why they believe that there could be multiple suspects involved right now.
Yeah, we want to bring up some tweets from our local leaders. We know we have one from the governor right now of Idaho, Brad Little. If we could pull up his tweet right now where he is addressing the situation. If you're just joining us, here's what he said. Multiple heroic firefighters were attacked today while responding to a fire in North Idaho. It's a heinous direct assault on our brave firefighters. I ask all Idahoans to pray for them and their families as we wait to learn more. We also saw a tweet from the FBI director that he sent out about an hour and a half, perhaps 2 hours ago. If we could pull that one up real quick. He's saying FBI assets heading to the scene in Coeur d'Alene to provide tactical and operational support. It is an active scene. So this situation attracting the attention of our top law enforcement officer in the country right now.
And we're also hearing from Pam Bondi now. Also, that's new here within the last 10 minutes. Right now, Pam Bondi writing on social media. Of course, the Attorney General writing thank you to our incredible FBI agents on the ground assisting local authorities in Idaho. We are praying for you all.
Yeah. Our Attorney General Raul Labrador just tweeting this out. Deeply saddened by reports that firefighters were shot while bravely responding to a fire in North Idaho. These heroes put their lives on the line for us every day. They should never be targets. Please keep our first responders and their families in your prayers. Just talking about, I guess, how rare this is for something like this to happen. The sheriff addressed that in the press conference at 4 o'clock today, saying that he's never heard of a situation where firefighters are intentionally targeted in what he described as a rural setting like Canfield Mountain. Sure. He says he has heard of reports of that happening in more urban situations, but not like this. So it's a tough situation for sure.
Absolutely. Also, Idaho senators also writing on social media. We heard from Jim Risch and also Senator Mike Crapo. We'll start with Jim Risch writing, Vicki and I are monitoring the incident in Kootenai County. We pray for the safety of our brave first responders.
All right. If you're just joining us, the Sheriff Bob Norris held a press conference, the Sheriff of Kootenai County, at about 4 o'clock today, so just about 2 hours ago, where he provided an update on this situation. So we want you to take a listen in to what he had to say about what they are dealing with.
Okay, my name is Robert Norris. I am the Sheriff of Kootenai County. This information is very preliminary and is subject to change. We want to give you and the public as much information as quickly as possible. So at approximately 1:21 p.m. this afternoon, we received reports of a fire on the east side of Canfield Mountain. Fire assets responded to the scene, and at approximately 2 p.m. this afternoon, it was reported that firefighters were receiving shots fired at them. We now have 2 deaths. We have an unknown amount of casualties. We still have civilians that are coming off of that mountain. We might have civilians that are stuck or in shock on that mountain. So this is a very, very fresh situation. We are actively taking sniper fire as we speak. This is an active situation. We have multiple agencies that are on scene from local and federal authorities. And we are prepared to neutralize this suspect who is currently actively shooting at public safety personnel. We are prepared to neutralize this suspect as quickly as possible. We know as of right now. We don't know who the suspects are. We don't know how many there are. So I know that it's very, very, very early, and I don't think that any questions would yield anything. But Chief, do you have anything? Was I accurate in what we were reporting?
Yes.
Okay. So we'll take a couple of questions, but I'd like to remind you that's very, very preliminary, and I'm not so sure we're going to have any additional information.
Original KXOY, the 2 deaths, are they fire personnel that have died?
We know that there's 2 deaths, and we believe that they are, yes.
Have they been taken off of the mountain? Are they...
Yeah, no, we're still in that process.
Hayden Brown, Coeur. You mentioned that there were multiple people that have been shot. Do you have an exact number at the moment?
Nope.
Okay.
We do not.
Alex Duggan, the spokesman. How are you going about evacuating people from the mountain or getting personnel out of there who are being shot at? I mean, what does that process look like?
Right now, we're developing a plan to be able to suppress these individuals' firefighting capability. And when we get that under control, when we have an opportunity to suppress that, then we will continue our removing of people who are on the mountain, who are on for a hike, or public safety personnel, or people who live on the backside of the mountain.
Do we have any indication of what type of firearms are being used in this from the suspect?
Well, it appears that modern day sporting rifles are being used. It appears that high-powered rifles are being used, yes.
How many acres is this fire?
I don't know.
Started out as a half acre.
Do we know about how many minutes after shots were fired when fire crews arrived?
Well, we got the first call at 1:21, and we have reports that they were taking shots at about 2 o'clock. I don't know what time they arrived on scene. I don't know what time the firefighters arrived on scene, but we can get you that information at the next briefing if you'd like.
How many engines were on scene when shots were fired? Do we know that?
3? I believe we had 3.
Thank you.
And just to be clear, the people who responded, they were wildland firefighters or they were local firefighters fighting a wildland firefighter?
City of Coeur d'Alene and Kootenai Fire Rescue.
Yes, sir.
When the shots were fired, were they at an accelerated rate or was it a single shot?
Oh no, we're taking rapid fire up there. In the back.
You keep referring to individuals. Are you referring to the casualties or like the amount of suspects you believe to be?
Well, we don't know how many suspects are up there, and we don't know how many casualties that there are. Yeah, I suspect we'll have people coming forward that maybe are stuck up there that drove themselves to the hospital, but I suspect that would likely be the case.
Do we have confirmation that there are people stuck up there?
People are still coming off the mountain, so it would only be safe to assume that the mountain is not clear.
As of right now, is there an active threat to the
Absolutely,
community?
absolutely there is.
Okay. Has
Yeah.
there been a shelter-in-place order put forth?
Yes, there has, and I would encourage all of you to tell people to stay away from the area. Do not come to the area. Stay away from the area. This is going to be, if these individuals are not neutralized quickly, this is going to be likely a multi-day operation.
Just a question. So, is the suspect in a home up there? Are they? Do we have an indication of where they might be on the mountain?
Yeah, we don't believe that they're in a home up there at this time.
So they're just kind of out in the open firing?
Well, they're heavy brush, well prepared. So yeah, they're blending in with their surroundings.
Sheriff Norris.
Go ahead.
Did you mention that the person that called it in is most likely the shooter?
No,
Okay.
No, we didn't say that. We said the first call was at 121 on a fire, and then we started receiving over our radio that the firefighters were receiving shots fired from the mountain.
Sheriff Norman, has anything happened like this before? And if so, do you think you and other law enforcement entities will be more aware going forward?
You know, this is an interesting dynamic. We have seen some of these things in a urban environment where firefighters were in a urban setting, putting out firefighters during civil disobedience, getting shot at. I've seen that. I can't say that I've seen it in a rural setting myself, but I have seen it in an urban setting frequently where firefighters do get shot at in civil unrest, yes.
So do we know if there's one or two shooters?
We don't know if there's 1, 2, 3, or 4. Yeah, we don't know.
So just for the fire itself, firefighting efforts, is it contained? Is it still spreading? What does that look like?
Well, it's gonna keep burning because we can't put a lot of resources on there right now. But Chief,
No, we won't put any resources out there until the threat is neutralized.
Do we have like a risk of wildfire? Say, is it high winds? Is that going to fuel the fire or anything, or is it?
We're at a high state right now in wildland, so it'll calm down as the evening progresses, but then it'll pick back up tomorrow.
Thank you.
And hopefully this is neutralized by then.
Thank you.
Sheriff Norris, how are you feeling about this overall from when you first got the call to just now from what you've learned?
You know what? It's going to be the tough next couple hours. Yeah, absolutely. I'm hoping that somebody has a clear shot and is able to neutralize, because they are not at this point in time showing any evidence of wanting to surrender. So as soon as somebody has a clear shot, I encourage them to take that shot and neutralize the threat.
We've seen several life flight helicopters coming in and out. Are there any other air resources that are being used at the moment?
Oh yeah, we have our Emergency Operations Bureau that is containing assets, and whenever a situation goes beyond the local resources, which this has, like I said, we have other counties that are here, we have federal authorities that are here, and we will neutralize this threat. So.
Thank you. And sorry, I know we've touched on this with the suspects. We know there is at least one, but you said possibly others. Is it coming from multiple different locations that bullets are coming from? That might indicate that
yes.
it is
Oh yeah.
one suspect?
Yep.
So it's coming from not just one.
Yeah, it's what the officers and deputies are reporting up on the mountain right now. So.
Have any officers been hit?
As of right now, we don't have any officers that have been hit. Okay.
Can you just confirm, list all the law enforcement authorities that are here on scene?
Well, I have not gotten a list yet,
Okay.
but however, pretty much everybody that's in this region, we have some Spokane resources that are here. We have Marshal's office that is on scene, Bonner County Sheriff's here, Coeur d'Alene Police, of course, is here, Idaho State Police, but we have a multitude of resources right now. So, okay, what we'll do is Lieutenant Mark Ellis is going to be one of our press relations here, and we'll determine what time we'll do another press conference, or if the next one will just be a press release. So I'm thinking it'll probably be a press conference, and it'll probably be somewhere in the next 3 or 4 hours, unless something significant happens before then.
Listen to a press conference from Coeur d'Alene County Sheriff Bob Norris right there. That press conference took place right around 4 o'clock today, so it's about 2 hours old at this point, but addressing the situation and the difficulty of the response up there. I think one thing was kind of telling out there. He was just being asked about the response and how long this may take place or unfold for. He said, "I am hoping someone has a clear shot and is able to neutralize," talking about the suspect or suspects up there. They said, "We are taking rapid gunfire up there." So it's a very chaotic chaotic and a dynamic situation. Tim, the ATF in Seattle just tweeted out a short time ago, too, the latest law enforcement agency, national law enforcement agency, to talk about the situation, saying ATF special agents and certified fire investigators from the Spokane, Portland, and Seattle offices are responding to the scene in Coeur d'Alene to provide support. So we've heard from the ATF, the FBI, Department of Homeland Security, the governor, Idaho's essentially entire congressional delegation has been looped in on this situation.
And
so
we know Spokane County also providing air support as well.
Right.
Spokane County Sheriff's Office providing helicopters to that area. We know that the fire obviously still actively burning right now. That's how this all started. They received a call at about 1:22 this afternoon for a fire on Canfield Mountain. And when firefighters arrived, they were met with gunfire.
Yeah, and just to be clear, the fire agency responding was Kootenai County Fire and Rescue. The sheriff was asked directly in that press conference if it was the firefighters who were shot, the ones that were hit, and he says, I believe they are the firefighters who were killed. He was asked if they were able to be taken off the mountain. He says, we are in that process right now. We mentioned Canfield Mountain. It's east of Coeur d'Alene. Our Jeremy Legoo just stepped into the office right now. And Jeremy, you are familiar with that area. It's somewhere you have been to run and to recreate multiple times. Can you kind of describe it for us?
The most interesting thing about Canfield Mountain is it's a multi-use area. So you're getting everyone from people on side-by-sides to dirt bikes to mountain bikes to frequent hikers, people going up with their dogs every single day. Some people hike it every day of the week. It's a very close proximity to many different neighborhoods right there in both Hayden and Coeur d'Alene. So it's a very popular area to go with multiple different ways in. You can see some of that smoke here billowing off the top of the mountain. And when it comes to that mountain, it is right there. It sits just outside of Coeur d'Alene. So Coeur d'Alene just down on the southern end of this map right here. Coeur d'Alene sits here, Hayden here. This is your Canfield Butte area. And so there's a couple of different peaks. And if you are up at the top, if we go back, you can see some of what you're looking at. So this right here is just one of those towers, but at the bottom there are also different buildings that are guarded by some fencing or different cement structures up there. The fire itself is still burning, and as you heard, it is still very dry. We are starting to see drought conditions emerge in parts of the inland northwest. Parts of North Idaho have been getting rain recently, but we're starting to see some of that vegetation dry out quickly. Now, right now we are about as good as we are going to be all summer long in terms of some of that vegetation, but we are heading into a very dry weather pattern. It thankfully looks like we have seen some of our worst wind recently with how our atmosphere is shaping up right now. So when I look at something like our wildfire map and wildfire potential the next couple of days, to me, the big story here is that we're seeing variable winds. It is still early enough in summer that we have cold pockets in the mountains, so we will get strong, variable winds in a pattern like this. We heat up the ground, and wind is driven by heat differentials of the lakes, of the roads, of the asphalt, and of the mountains. So it is very difficult to fight a fire in a situation like this, but as you heard, as the sun goes down, some of that will change. Mark? Tim?
All right, Jeremy, some good perspective on the area where this is all unfolding. Thank you very much.
Yeah, we also have our Caitlin Galloway on the way to Coeur d'Alene right now. Joining us now on the phone. Caitlin, tell us more about where you are right now and what you're seeing. Do you have a clear shot of Canfield Mountain and where some of that smoke is still actively coming up from the mountain?
Hey guys, yeah, I just got to the staging area for law enforcement and fire personnel, things like that. I can tell you, as I was driving in, I came from downtown Spokane and Spokane Hoop Fest. As soon as I got really across the state line into Idaho, you could see the smoke right away when I was still about 10, 15 miles out from the scene. So unfortunately, a pretty clear at this point, I guess, landmark of where this is happening that you can see from a pretty significant distance.
Place right now for the areas south of Hayden Lake Road. Was it hard to get to the staging area, and tell us, did it look like there were people evacuating?
You know, there was quite a bit of traffic on the freeway. Now, where the staging area is pretty close to I-90 on and off ramp. So there was people certainly trying to, get out on both directions in I-90 that I kind of had to move around.
Yeah, and I'm curious, Caitlin, just kind of your reaction to arriving on scene and seeing something of this scope. This is something that we do not see often.
No, I mean, I haven't been to a scene like this in my career, I don't think. I mean, just the sheer amount of vehicles on scene of any kind of first responder that you can imagine, I think, is parked here right now, guys. And, the sheer amount of law enforcement personnel, the smoke, I had to stop at a gas station on my way here, and there were people there that were like, are you heading to Coeur d'Alene? What's happening in Coeur d'Alene? So obviously significant concern and for good reason around the area.
Yeah, hang tight there for us, Caitlin, if you would. If you're just to give you a sense of how dynamic of a situation this is, or just, I guess, uncommon, you'd put it, of a situation is, we've heard from the FBI director, we've heard from the ATF, the governor of Idaho, both senators, essentially everybody, our nation's highest law enforcement officers, the Attorney General, Pam Bondi, even addressing the situation unfolding right now. Could we pull up some of those tweets from them, if we could, at this hour? Again, this situation happened, or started rather, at 1:30, so we're now 5 hours into it. Here's the FBI director saying assets are heading to the scene in Coeur d'Alene to provide tactical and operational support.
We also got another tweet here from Secretary Kristi Noem, the Secretary of the Department of Homeland Security is actively monitoring the scene in Coeur d'Alene. Pray for Idaho's first responders. Justice will be served.
Yeah, Idaho Governor Brad Little also addressing the situation a short time ago, doing so via X as well. If he could pull up his tweet, we can see what he had to say about the situation. Again, multiple heroic firefighters attacked today, responding to that fire in North Idaho. He calls it a heinous, direct assault on our brave firefighters. If you are just joining us, this all began at 1:20 this afternoon. A call for a brush fire, Canfield Mountain, east of Coeur d'Alene, kind of northeast of Coeur d'Alene. When Kootenai County Fire and Rescue arrived on scene, they began taking gunfire. The sheriff describing it as rapid gunfire from at least one suspect, potentially more. They just don't know at this point. 2 people were hit. The Kootenai County Sheriff says he believes those were firefighters who were hit. 2 people are dead. There could be more victims up there. So in the meantime, there is this huge response. We have a fire burning that they're not able to fight until this area gets secured. And they're just trying to get a handle on how many potential victims there could be up there, how many gunmen there could be up there. Sure. So it's very dynamic. And our Regan Gallo, Regan, you have been there live for a few hours now. We've come to you several times. Give folks a sense of just kind of the situation out there right now as you're seeing it.
Mark, it's just kind of a sense of, wow, like this is really happening. This was a beautiful Sunday into 4th of July week, and just kind of a travesty against our first responders and our firefighters for North Idaho. And just to talk about the severity, since I got here around 3:30 this afternoon, many more patrol vehicles from law enforcement from across Idaho and Washington state are here supporting, including, like you said, those federal authorities too. So a lot of hands on scene. I can still smell the smoke in the air. It's still going, and there's plenty of helicopters in the area. Border Patrol, Homeland Security is here as well with boots on the ground. So like Sheriff Norris said, they are not going to stop until the threat is neutralized, whether that is suspect or suspects. So very scary. And the other thing too, the heat. It's a very hot day. As I've been standing here for the past 3 hours in the sun reporting, I can just imagine how law enforcement is feeling hiking up that terrain on Canfield Mountain, trying to find those suspects too. It's summertime, we're in the heat of summer, and it's just a very scary situation.
Regan, it sounds like they're still working to get people off the mountain, at least within the last hour or so. The sheriff saying that they're actively taking and working to get people that they haven't reached, is what he said. Have you seen people trying to get off the mountain and back in their vehicles and out of the area? What are you seeing from where you are?
From where I am, I have not seen any hikers come down the mountain, but yes, Sheriff Norris said that when the scene started, they had hikers up in the mountain enjoying the day. It is a Sunday, it's a beautiful Sunday, and so they don't know how many hikers were on the mountain when everything started happening, when chaos started, and so they are trying to actively get everyone out of the area and into safety to ensure that no one else can be, subject to harm with those suspect still on the mountain. So haven't seen any hikers so far, but that's what they're working on, and I'm sure at that 9:30 press conference we will get more updates on what hikers are still out there, what casualties happened, and what's still happening.
Yeah, good points right there, Regan. Thank you. Kootenai County Sheriff Bob Norris saying during that press conference, if the individual or individuals are not neutralized quickly, this will likely be what he called a multi-day incident. We were talking about kind of the terrain out there. I want to bring Jeremy back in, Chief Meteorologist Jeremy the Goo. Let's talk about, Jeremy, the topography a bit. You ran Canfield Mountain before. You've gone out there to run. Is it steep? Just break it down for us. Describe kind of what first responders are against as they're going out there.
Yeah, so we talked a bit about the multiple different entrances, and all of them have a similarity. The similarity is you are coming into this mountain that starts out somewhat gradual, somewhat inviting. It is open at the bottom, and then you get into more dense trees, so you can see Coeur d'Alene and Hayden. So look at all of these different neighborhoods here. You can see a nice area where it's much flatter, much easier to navigate. But as you get closer to Canfield Butte, now the fire icon on here is not the exact location. I placed it on Canfield Butte so you can get an idea. There's Canfield Butte West and Canfield Butte East. Both of them are very steep. So as you get up into here, you can enter from a neighborhood here and meander your way up toward the top. You're going through dense woods on switchback trails as you do so. A good chunk of that hike is in dense forest vegetation, no matter which way you're coming in from. So there are multiple ways in. You can get in from, say, to the west, from to the south, and even from areas out to the east where there is a whole array of Forest Service roads. If I zoom out on this map here quick, you can see a wide area. Let me get a pointer here. So see this area all out there where you're looking and it just looks like steep mountainous terrain? That is a smattering of logging roads, a very easy way in and out through the back if you know how you're moving through this terrain. As you get closer to the top of the mountain, it does turn into a more rocky, more steep terrain. I said the bottom is a little more inviting, but as you climb that mountain, it tends to get steeper and steeper and steeper. It is a very popular mountain for people training to, say, put up a bigger mountain summit. People who train for climbing Mount Rainier or Mount Hood nearby will oftentimes make their way to Canfield Butte because that top section is a lot of elevation gain in a very short period, very short distance. And with that, you are able to see over the tops of some of the trees that you find yourself among as you're making your way through the bottom of that hill. So it's a very different situation once you are in those trees as to once you get above those trees. And then once you're above them, there are different cement outcroppings toward the top of the mountain. If we take this view, you can kind of see some of those structures, some of the towers up there, and then the fire looks like it is just a little bit farther off to the east from there. So you can see some of these open areas, some of the denser wooded areas, and then this would be Canfield Butte East, and then the west one is the larger one. So when we go back to this map here, you can get an idea that that fire, if we dive in and just kind of move it based on what we are seeing in that imagery, it is one where it is likely a little bit just farther this way, more toward Canfield Butte East than it is Canfield Butte West. So it's a very dense wooded area that gets very steep very quickly, but it's also butted up to neighborhoods, to Forest Service roads that extend for miles. You can take those Forest Service roads all the way up to Canada. You can take them all the way over into Montana. You can take them south to Interstate 90. It is a very, very active area, and there are people who know that area very, very well. So as you zoom out, look what you're seeing here. It's just a whole mess of forest with Forest Service roads that weave through all of them. Mark and
Goodness, a potentially huge scene. Jeremy, thank you. Stick with us, Jeremy. We understand we have someone who was near the scene when all this unfolded, who's on the phone with us right now. His name is David. David, can you hear us?
Certainly.
David, describe for us kind of what you saw, where you were at. What happened?
Well, we live right at the corner of Nettleton Gulch and Maple Leaf Drive. It's the staging area for everything that is happening. There's, starting around 1:30, 2 o'clock, we've had approximately 60 to 80 vehicles. Everybody from Spokane, Rathdrum, Northern Lakes, Post Falls, Coeur d'Alene officers, FBI, tactical units that have come. It is approximately a mile and a half from where the active shooter or shooters, we're not sure which. I've talked to several of the officers and the 2 firefighters that are killed, and then also they don't know if there's any other shooters or any other casualties. But it has been the biggest thing that they're worried about right now is the fire, more so than they are the shooters coming down Canfield. There's probably 60 enforcement officers between us and the shooter. We're in a safe area, hopefully. That's what's been happening. The 2 victims that were taken away are the first 2 firefighters that were on the scene. So that's about all I know. Is a lot of activity, a lot of prayer, a lot of officers that are worn out, fire department, and they have been absolutely great. Like I said, there's been at least 60 vehicles up and down this road all afternoon. So at this point, we don't know anything else except that the shooter is still up there.
David, you live on Nettleton Gulch Road. That is part of the shelter in place right now from the Kootenai County Sheriff's Office. Did a sheriff deputy or anyone come to your door telling you about the situation?
3 of them did.
What did they say?
The last one that came asked for my American flag that I've got flying. I just happen to have 3 spares inside the garage I gave him. I'm assuming they were for the firefighters that they were taking out. They also told me tonight, make sure everything is locked up, make sure your drapes are shut, and make sure you're armed.
David, I'm just curious. I assume you've lived in that area for quite some time. Just kind of your reaction to this unfolding in your quote-unquote backyard.
Well, yes, I was born and raised in the area. We have been here for 55 years, and it kind of reminds me of a couple of other shootings that we've had, Ruby Ridge, and the other one with the kids that were involved. I can't remember the names. Just not very far from us. But the main thing to remember is this is not a usual situation. This is something that happens very, very few times, and I've had folks call me from all over the United States, the West Coast, that we have friends and previous clients that making sure we're okay. They're hearing different things on the news, especially the information they're getting is not accurate. And so, am I surprised that this happened? I'm not surprised. I'm disappointed. but we still live in an extremely safe area, and I would not be in any other place in the United States to live.
Yeah, David. Appreciate it.
Yeah, we're taking a look right now, a live picture from the scene. And David, you talked also about the fire threat. And are you seeing flames or smoke from where you live?
I can see smoke. There are no flames. They can't get to the fire because of the shooter or shooters. And so that's what, if any wind picks up and heads our way, we're going to be evacuating quite quickly.
Yeah. David, we really appreciate your time and taking the time to chat with us today. I appreciate it. Stay safe. And again, thank you. David brought up a good point on the phone. There was a lot of information on social media. A lot of the information is not confirmed. We're bringing to you just confirmed information from our reporters on the scene or from the sheriff himself that he brought to us during that press conference. And to that end, just to recap where we are at, we are now more than 5 hours into this situation. It all began, the call for the fire came in at 1:20. The firefighters responded at around 1:30, 2 o'clock in that time frame, and that's when the shooting happened. 2 have been shot and killed. There could be more victims up on the mountain. Crews just say right now they don't know. There's at least one shooter. There could be more. The sheriff said that person or persons are armed with what he called modern-day sporting rifles, high-powered rifles, firing in quick succession at them. So that's where they're at right now, trying to find and neutralize the threat, as the sheriff said. And when they can do that, they can address the fire and try to figure out if there are any other people up there.
And as of 5 o'clock, at least, the sheriff said during that press conference that they were still actively receiving gunfire, sniper fire is what he said, and that they are prepared if he's given his deputies the go-ahead if they get a clear shot to neutralize the suspects.
Yeah.
We do have our Regan Gallo back there at Canfield Mountain for us. Regan has been there for several hours now. Regan, tell us more about what's happening now since the last time we checked in with you.
What's happening now, Tim, is we have seen multiple patrol vehicles come into the area just to assess the situation. Now, there is a magnitude of support here. That's what we've been talking about. Was when I got here, it was just Coeur d'Alene, it was just Kootenai County Sheriff. Now we have Spokane support. Now we have Idaho State Police. We have FBI coming to the scene as well. There's life flight helicopters as well as Border Patrol helicopters and vehicles too. Also from Kellogg and Bonner County, many officers here on scene trying to, neutralize the suspect or suspects. So just a major threat to the community, to the area. And may I highlight, this is a week where first responders are already on defense with 4th of July, between fire season, between fireworks, and people having a great time and partying, should I say, and spending time with family and friends. This is a major week for first responders. So to have this happen to 2 firefighters and maybe more, we're not sure, is very, very scary. And this isn't going to be an active investigation through the night, we believe, and into 4th of July week. So just very sad altogether.
Yeah, indeed. Regan, thank you very much. Hey, I want to bring Jeremy back in, our chief meteorologist, because Jeremy, during that phone interview with Dave, he mentioned if the wind picks up and shifts towards them, they're going to have to evacuate. Of course, the fire is almost secondary to the law enforcement action of trying to find and neutralize the shooter or shooters. Yeah. What is the situation weather-wise? Do you anticipate wind moving through there that could fuel this fire or shift it in different directions?
Yes and no. It's a very interesting question. To me, I always talk about our water vapor imagery and what we're seeing in the atmosphere. We have a ridge of high pressure building over the top of us. You can see this big arcing motion over most of the northwest. Notice how in Spokane and Coeur d'Alene, we are on the leading side of it, the far right edge of it. As that pattern builds in, we will start to see a much calmer atmosphere. So when it comes to mesoscale or large scale driving winds, that is not as big of a factor as what we have going on down at the surface. Surface winds are light and variable. Take a look at this graphic. This one to me is always pretty good at knowing what direction winds are going to blow, picking up on wind patterns. Notice it just kind of doesn't have any numbers or any wind speeds on there or shifts in the direction. We don't have anything to cause big pattern changes. However, when you take a look at some of the temperatures around the region, notice Spokane 83, Coeur d'Alene at 84, and then those are the oranges you see on the map. But as you get closer to the mountains, right on the edge of that Canfield Butte area, you start to get into the yellows. Yellows are typically in the 70s, and the greens are typically in the 60s. The way wind works, especially in a situation like what we are seeing, is that wind will blow from cold areas to warm areas. It is driven by differences in pressure. Temperature can create pressure difference, or it is indicative of pressure differences. So when you have temperatures down in the 60s, that is a denser air. That more dense air will push into areas where your air is lighter and easier to move. That would be places like Coeur d'Alene or Hayden, where your temperatures are up in the mid 80s, 83, 84 degrees, and that air then moves much easier. So you can see the fire itself is right on the edge of that more mountainous area. If we go ahead and zoom out here just a little bit, you can see Montana, most of North Idaho, and this is all wide open mountain expanse. So in that area, you still have pockets of not snow that hasn't melted. That's going to create a little bit of cold. And you also wind up with these little valleys that get different amounts of sun throughout the day. That will create cold pockets, and those cold pockets will create varying wind. So we don't necessarily have anything to drive a major wind event, but what we do have is variable wind gusts. And I was out in the mountains a little bit earlier today, just enjoying myself, and we saw some wind gusts up over 20 miles per hour. Nothing really driving those wind gusts, but just those temperature differences that I was just talking about have that ability. They can take you from no wind to a 20-mile-per-hour wind gust. So that is what we are going to continue to see until the time the sun goes down. Keep in mind, these are our latest sunsets of the entire year. Let's go ahead and talk some of that, because I think that is also an interesting factor here. Today, our sun sets at 8:52 p.m. With a high temperature of 84 degrees and a sunset at 8:52 p.m., it's kind of a big deal. We are going to be in 2 more hours of daylight where we can get those temperature differentials, and then as your sun starts setting, remember, sun sets in the west, so areas to the east will see shade faster. They will cool faster as well. And then if we go back up to the map, one more thing on this graphic before we move back to the other, notice our precipitation deficit. More than 2 inches year to date, more than 2¼ inches year to date in terms of the precipitation we have not seen. So when the sun starts to set out to the west, we will see areas to the east of the fire start to cool quicker, and that cooler air is more dense than the hot air that will sit in some of those more populous centers, say Coeur d'Alene, Hayden, Spokane Valley. And so all of that cold air will then push out of the mountains. We'll see a gustier bit of wind closer to sunset tonight. Mark.
Jeremy, I want to ask you a question. You've been to Canfield Mountain before, and you've been talking about the different access points. The sheriff telling us that they are still working to get people off the mountain. What are some of the other ways for people to get off the mountain?
So there are ways where you can go. There's a neighborhood parking area. It is right nestled up against the mountain. Let's go ahead and zoom in on this map. We can maybe pick it up. This is my weather map. It's not typically used for something like this, but what we can do is just try to get a little bit closer. So you see, here's Canfield Butte, and you can start to pick out some of these different areas. So as Tim was mentioning, there are different access points. This right here is a park. It picks up quite well. And you can just go straight from these neighborhoods, see all these little grid streets, you can go from these neighborhoods right up to it. And then there's another one. If we slide a little farther off to the north, you can find these switchbacks. The switchbacks go up, and you make your way up into into the mountain. There are many different ways in. Multiple different ways in do come from neighborhoods, and that is why this is such a popular hiking area. And then if we go down to the south, this is Fernand Lake right here. So if we zoom out just a little bit, if you're not familiar with the area, this is Lake Coeur d'Alene, and then this is Fernand Lake. Here's I-90 running right through Coeur d'Alene and up into the mountains. This is all really important. So as we zoom back in, there is a road that runs along Fernand Lake, right along the north side here. You can trace it, you can almost see it, and then notice how it starts to go up right under the graphic there. Let's follow that road because I think this is very telling of this story. You can see all of this, it just goes up, and then we wind up in this area where there is a whole array of Forest Service roads that go in and out of this area. And it's extremely popular if you have a side-by-side or a dirt bike. I've seen e-mountain bikers up there having a good time. I've seen guys on gravel bikes just pedaling. I've seen people hiking. So it's an area that's accessible through many different ways that is popular for many different reasons for many different people. And it typically begets someone who's either just wanting to go out for an afternoon or morning hike, all the way to someone who's training for a much bigger event. So this is one of those places where it's just very, very popular for people to go. I'm sorry about my fire icon that keeps moving. It's not one that tacks to the map. So if we zoom out just a little bit, get back to our initial point here, what we can see is that there's the fire, most likely from what we saw on the live eye a little bit earlier. That's the top of the East Butte. You can come in from here, you can come in from here, you can access it from some of these Forest Service roads. So there are many different ways into that very area.
Yeah, and on a Sunday, I can only imagine it'd be pretty busy as well.
Yeah.
Let's run through some of the tweets from our local lawmakers, political leaders, law enforcement officials who are addressing the situation in Coeur d'Alene, because it's drawing national attention from the FBI, the ATF, the Attorney General of the U.S. So if we can, let's pull up the governors to start, if we can, from Governor Brad Little right here. He's addressing the situation, saying multiple heroic firefighters were attacked today. He calls it a heinous direct assault on our brave firefighters. He said that he and his wife are heartbroken. He is keeping close tabs on the situation.
We're also hearing from other senators as well. We heard from Mike Crapo. We heard from Senator Risch as well. Here's the statement from Senator Mike Crapo. He wrote earlier this afternoon, I am monitoring the horrific reports out of Coeur d'Alene this evening. I urge local residents to follow recommendations of law enforcement. My prayers are with the victims and first responders.
Yeah, can we pull up now the tweet from Attorney General Pam Bondi, because it's not often that we see the AG tweeting on an issue happening in our backyard. She says, thank you to our incredible FBI agents on the ground assisting local authorities in Idaho. We are praying for you.
The Department of Homeland Security, also Secretary weighing in as well, Kristi Noem, writing, the DHS is actively monitoring the scene in Coeur d'Alene. Pray for Idaho's first responders. Justice will be served.
Of course, we don't know, what any kind of motive for this was. It started at 1:20, an hour and a half, or 5.5 hours ago, rather, as a fire, called in as a fire. Firefighters from Kootenai County Fire and Rescue responded. We know that at least 2 were shot and killed. That's according to the sheriff right there. The gunman, we don't know how many gunmen there are. There could be one, there could be multiple. They sustained gunfire, and even after officers had arrived on scene during a press conference at 4 o'clock, the sheriff said they were still receiving rapid gunfire at that situation.
We have our Regan Gallo there right now. Regan has been there for the last several hours. Regan, you got there right around 2 o'clock. Tell us more, or 3 o'clock. Tell us more about what you're seeing right now.
3 o'clock. Tell us more about what you're seeing right now.
What I'm seeing right now is just immense amount of patrol vehicles and law enforcement authorities from across jurisdictions and regions coming to support this search for either suspect or suspects. So just very scary. And from what I know is that they don't know how many people were on the mountain when the shooting started, whether it was hikers, and they also don't know how many more first responders who were responding to that fire are also, still coming down too. So just a lot of questions to be asked, and we're going to get more answers around 9:30 tonight. But many patrol vehicles here. I got here around 3:30. Not, just some local authorities were here then. Now it's across jurisdictions. So just a lot of support and a lot of questions, to be answered.
Video of officers responding, and that's like their Bearcat, their armored vehicle right there, to the scene. I thought it was pretty telling when we heard from Sheriff Bob Norris, the Coeur County Sheriff, a couple of hours ago, where he said if this individual or individuals are not neutralized quickly, this could be a multi-day
And you don't
event.
hear that in an active shooter situation.
No, and you don't hear about firefighters being ambushed a lot. The sheriff addressed that earlier as well. He said he's never heard of it in this situation, a rural setting. He says he has heard about firefighters being attacked in maybe an urban setting, but not like this.
But yeah, nonetheless, they are still taking it very seriously. There are shelter-in-place orders for that area. Right now, it's south of Hayden Lake Road, as well as east of 15th Street in Coeur d'Alene, as well as Nettleton Gulch Road right now. Here's a map of where that is happening, not far from I-90.
Yeah, the sheriff's saying just stay away from the scene. This is a huge law enforcement effort. They're trying to devise a plan in order to figure out where this person or people are and to neutralize them. That's the word for the sheriff. We want to neutralize this person or these people. Again, a couple things we just don't know either is the number of victims. We know 2 for sure that have been killed, according to the sheriff, but he just said there could be more people up there that may be bystanders that were hurt. They just don't know. They're trying to, number one, neutralize the threat, and then they can start addressing some of these other issues to include the fire still burning up
which
there.
they still can't even battle at this hour. Our news partners at the Coeur d'Alene Press reporting also that the Fernan Gun Club told that there was a sniper in the area and the business was evacuated. That came in about 2 hours ago from our news partners at the Coeur d'Alene Press.
Yeah, the sheriff saying that the shooter or shooters armed with a modern-day sporting rifle is how he described it, a high-powered rifle. That's what they're up against. And obviously it's a wooded area, so that person or people could be concealed. So obviously making it more difficult for them.
And one of the reasons why the sheriff says that there is likely multiple shooters is because that his deputies and the firefighters were receiving gunfire from multiple directions while responding to that brush fire.
Right. If you're just joining us now, we are just about 5.5 hours into this whole situation unfolding just outside of Coeur d'Alene, a situation attracting national attention from some of our highest law enforcement officers in our country tonight. 2 firefighters appear to have been ambushed, shot and killed Canfield Mountain northeast of Coeur d'Alene today. The shooter or shooters still on the loose right now. Firefighters trying to find them and stop them, according to the sheriff. He is worried that if the situation is not stopped soon, it could turn into a multi-day event, just based on kind of the terrain they're in, where it's unfolding, what the suspect or suspects appear to be armed with, and then just given that area where they could easily conceal themselves.
Yeah, we're coming up here at the 7 o'clock hour. Obviously, the sun's still up now. The sun will obviously, once it sets, it's going to pose new challenges for law enforcement and first responders there on scene.
Again, we don't know what prompted all this. Neither do police at this hour. They're just trying to respond to it and get it kind of handled as quickly as they possibly can. But it is not a good situation. This area that Jeremy just described, it's a huge area, Jeremy. I mean, we're talking, there are a multitude of places for this person or people to go to.
That's what I find most interesting about this. To me, it feels a little more planned when you wind up having an area as large as what you see to the east of where this shooting took place. You can see some of that smoke still billowing. It's starting to get a little thicker. It looks like it's growing a little bit in intensity. We are starting to see that smoke become more prevalent. But when you see that area, we are sitting at more than 80 degrees right now, sunny skies, calm conditions. It is not the worst fire conditions, but it's still up there and it is still burning.
All right, Jeremy, thank you very much. Our next update we are expecting to hear is from the sheriff, the Coeur County Sheriff Bob Norris at 9:30. We will stream that live, so stay tuned for more information just about 3.5 hours or 2.5 hours away. Right?
Yeah, and we'll stream that live on Creme 2 Plus. If you don't yet have Creme 2 Plus, you can download on your TV and watch for free. We're also keeping updates on creme.com minute by minute as it comes in. And our team is making phone calls behind the scenes to get more information about what happened. And again, there is a shelter in place for this area. So if you live in that area, be sure to stay indoors and stay with us as we continue to gather new details.
Yeah, if you have any pictures of the scene from where we're at, where you can get safely, you want to send them to us, 509-448-2000. Text them our way. We will continue to follow this. Thank you for following this breaking news coverage. It continues on creme.com.